Hello and welcome to my graduate research project. My name is CHarding and this is for Managing the Global Workforce at Amberton University with Dr. Diane Sanchez for the summer 2020 session. My project is creating a global mobility program for an Amazon fulfillment center. First, we're going to look at what exactly is a global mobility program. Then some background information on Amazon and how their globalization began. Then we're going to look at effectively transferring an employee from the US to the UK and see how they adjust to the foreign culture. We're also going to look at expatriate support in the UK, both from Amazon and in the community. Finally, we must ask, will a high-performing manager from the US still find success in the UK? First, what is globalization? It is the process by which organizations have no borders or barriers to their economic activity and business. It is when companies operate on an international scale. Amazon's globalization began when sales started leveling off in North America. They knew it was time to expand their business throughout the rest of the world. Additionally, without the standard brick-and-mortar expenses, Amazon was able to drive down the price of their goods and increase competition in the global marketplace. A global mobility program is a program which moves the workforce seamlessly from one country to another. The program is concerned with the expatriate's success, both in their personal and their professional lives. Having an organized mobility program will ensure the organization can navigate the international workforce waters proficiently and accurately. An effective program will ensure the expatriate has a positive acclimation to their new culture. Additionally, a successful program will have solid practices in place for repatriation. Global mobility programs must also have a keen understanding of global employment law, tax law, payroll, and immigration concerns, such as work permits, residence permits, and visas. Finally, the program will monitor and support the expatriates and their experiences in the program. In designing a global mobility program, there are key areas that need to be considered for an effective program. First, the organization needs to understand how this program fits in with its overall strategy and objectives. Next, we must understand the demands of the geographic location and demands of the role. We need to consider the market in which the organization operates and where we'll be sending our expatriates to. Third, there needs to be a distinctive expatriate-repatriate cycle. The assignment needs to be defined, the process, the duration, and a roadmap for the employee. There has to be a clear understanding for all the parties involved. Next, HR and management will have a support system and practices in place for their expat, not only for the employee, but for their spouse or partner and their children. The system must account for before, during, and after their assignment. Finally, we need to monitor the programs and ensure the desired outcomes are achieved. This process can be unsuccessful if not properly managed. Ultimately, the organization needs to consider the career aspirations of the employee and ensure that they're working to achieve those. Now, some brief information on Amazon. Amazon is an American company founded in 1994 in Washington and is currently based in Seattle. Jeff Bezos is the founder, chairman, president, and CEO of Amazon. He originally started an online marketplace for books, then expanded to include electronics, apparel, furniture, and more. In 1998, Amazon launched in the UK and currently has many corporate offices, development centers, customer service centers, and fulfillment centers across the United Kingdom. Amazon operates on 4 principles: customer obsession rather than competitor focus, passion for invention, commitment to operational excellence, and long-term thinking. Now, specifically, Amazon fulfillment centers first launched in 1997. There are currently over 175 centers and over 250,000 full-time employees working in them. Now let's look at the employee we're going to transfer. Manager A is currently an area manager at the Moni, Illinois Fulfillment Center, where she manages the day-to-day operations of a team of over 100 associates. Her job responsibilities include leading and developing her team and ensuring their safety. She is also responsible for her team's attendance, engagement, and performance. Furthermore, she ensures that her area is OSHA compliant and works to communicate policies and procedures to her team. She is a high-rated manager, and she's worked for Amazon for over 10 years in various positions, working her way up in the fulfillment center. Manager A's long-term goal is to work at a corporate office. Although she enjoys the warehouse setting, it is taxing on her, and she'd like a new challenge in the next couple years. She is currently eligible for promotion to a fulfillment center operations manager, as she just completed her MBA in international business with a concentration in strategic leadership. Her husband is originally from Manchester, England, and still has family nearby. They are interested in relocating to England, as her husband has lived in the U.S. since he was 10 years old and longs to return to his home. The couple has 2 small children and will need assistance finding a job for her husband and a daycare program for their children. When deciding on an employee to transfer, I considered many factors and ultimately chose a married working mom for several reasons. First, I can relate to this employee, as I have always been a full-time working mom since my son was a baby. And when I was researching and reading about expats, overall, there's a shortage of women on overseas assignments. So I thought it would be interesting to develop an employee who had a career to balance, a family, and an education, and now a transfer overseas. There seems to be 4 categories for the shortage of female expatriates. First, there is a perception that women are unwilling to take an international position. However, there's no clear evidence to support this. Women do have a desire for an international career. There are 4 factors that influence the female expat. First, the location and how developed the country is and whether there's a political risk for her moving there. Next, she'll be influenced by the benefits of the assignment and how it might affect her personal growth. She'll also be inclined to accept if it will help her career advancement. Finally, the security of the assignment will greatly influence her, as of course, she's concerned for her personal safety as well as the safety of her position within the organization. The next category is work and family balance issues. As women are often cast as the primary caregivers for their children, they must find a way to balance that role and their work role. And of course, mothers are concerned with their children thriving in a new environment. Additionally, there is a great concern for their spouse or partner. Will they find a career in the host country? Will they be happy and satisfied with the relocation? Or will they just feel like they're trailing along after their spouse while she chases her dreams and career aspirations? Another issue for women overseas is how the host country receives them, being that they are female. Often women must work in male-dominated societies where they face discrimination because the employees and the customers from the host country might prefer to deal with men. Studies have shown that women overcome these difficulties and challenges and are effective in their overseas roles. Finally, as women expect to not be selected for expat assignments, they tend to fail to actively pursue the positions. It is often because of the relationships between her and her male supervisor, or possibly negative attitudes from senior managers or the decision makers with regard to female expats. Since Manager A has completed her MBA, combined with all of her experience thus far at Amazon, she is qualified for the Operations Manager position. She participated in several Skype interviews with management and HR from the Fulfillment Center in Manchester, England. They have offered, and she has accepted the position. So let's take a look at her new job responsibilities. As the Operations Manager, she will be leading and developing a team of area managers and upwards of 300 associates. Manager A will be responsible for determining performance goals and holding the area managers accountable for their teams. She will lead process improvement projects and work to develop and execute productivity plans to help the team work more effectively. Additionally, she'll be responsible for managing and organizing the inventory in the fulfillment center. As for the qualifications for the Operations Manager position, a master's degree is preferred, and Amazon wants someone with a great production management skill background and a high supply chain standards. Furthermore, as you're leading such a large group, you must be comfortable with public speaking and have excellent communication skills. Finally, as Amazon is always working toward improving their standards, they're also looking for someone with a keen understanding of the Kaizen principles. Now, since Manager A has accepted the position, we'll begin the relocation process. First, a transfer date and start date must be determined. Manager A and her family must have proper travel documentation, such as passports, visas, and work permits. The cost for the relocation will be determined, and the relocation package will be built and delivered to Manager A. Prior to leaving the country, it is a good idea to set up finances in England. Manager A has accounts with Citibank, which operate in Illinois and Manchester, so she should have no difficulties after arriving. The mobility program will help Manager A sell her house in Illinois and offer pack and unpack service. It's always a good idea to downsize as much as possible prior to moving overseas. Additionally, the program will set up flights and transportation for her and her family. And once the relocation is finalized, we'll start pulling together resources for her husband's employment in England, as well as daycare facilities for her family to consider. Amazon works to support their expatriates with a global mobility program ambassador. The ambassador will work to manage all aspects of the move for the manager and her family. They will coordinate an orientation trip once some housing options have been selected. The ambassador will also help to develop a specific program for Manager A and her family, and they will be on constant lookout for potential opportunities. The ambassador will be assigned to this expatriate before, during, and after their move to England. They will work with HR to ensure all legal concerns are addressed ahead of time, all policies are adhered to, and the information is processed in a timely manner. The program ambassador works to solve problems and ease any worries of Manager A and her family. Finally, they will also help the family enroll in England's National Health Service and ensure that they have cell phone service when they arrive. Once Manager A and her family have settled in, there is an expected adjustment period. She will have a short time to acclimate herself and her family to the new country before she jumps into her new role at Amazon. During this period, she can settle in with her family and ensure that everyone is comfortable. The program ambassador will offer lists for nearby shopping and restaurants and different family activities. This will also give Manager A time to determine if she'll be driving or taking public transportation. Many in England do take public transportation because it's easier and efficient. The family will go through employment opportunities for her husband and daycare and physician options for their children. The family will also attend a local cultural assimilation program to help them ease into their new life in England. Finally, they'll visit the bank to ensure that they have access to their finances and that there are no issues. Next, we're going to discuss just a couple of the challenges expatriates tend to face. First, no personal support. Luckily for our employee, she has her immediate family with her. However, for expats traveling alone, this can be quite difficult. Next, no professional network. This can also be a concern, especially for Manager A, as she was at the Moni Fulfillment Center for many years, working with the same group of people. She might have to work outside of her comfort zone to help to develop new relationships at work. Next, making new friends. This is going to be a challenge for our employee, her husband, and her kids, and we'll talk about some ideas to address this shortly. Finally, culture shock. Again, this is a concern and can be a challenge for many expatriates. Although the language is the same, the cultural differences between the US and the UK are actually quite vast. Manager A and her family have moved from a small farm town in Illinois to England's second city. They might be facing some culture shock. First, the holidays the families celebrate in England are quite different, so depending on how old your children are, they might be disappointed in the lack of the American Halloween festivities that they're used to. Also, greetings and etiquette are slightly different in England, as the Brits tend to be slightly more reserved. Television shows after 9 p.m. in England are unrestricted, and anything goes. This can be alarming to the unsuspecting American, or if they've let their kids stay up late. Americans thrive on individual successes, whereas the British have more collaborative efforts. Americans are more aggressive and direct, and they tend to say what they mean, whereas the British are pretty non-confrontational and a little complex, as they tend to say the opposite of what they actually mean. They also use humor to ease a serious situation. Americans are patriotic and fly their flag all year round, whereas the British see the flag as a political statement. And although the U.S. has higher salaries, they have less sick time and less holiday pay, and a greater need and requirement to be at work. In England, employment laws tend to favor the employee, and most full-time workers are guaranteed 28 paid time days off each year. Taking a holiday in England is a must. In America, the differences among the states are more pronounced, whereas the UK sees cultural differences between the North and the South. Americans are quite a bit more excitable and emotional and can be seen as phony by their co-workers in England, whereas the British are overly understated and restrict their show of enthusiasm. The British tend to see themselves in a broader view as Europeans, whereas Americans specify their state and focus more on domestic concerns. Finally, in England, where the pub reigns supreme, workplace relationships are more common, as bonding after work is essential to your career. Once your expat is situated in their new country, they have a new home, a new job, and they're ready to start their new life. What else do they need? They still need support, both from their community and their employer. First, there needs to be communication from the home office, so the expat doesn't want to feel forgotten. A great suggestion for an expatriate in England is to subscribe to An American in Britain. It's a magazine that's perfect for managers like Manager A. There are tons of online groups also that she and her family can join to help socialize and engage in their new world. Additionally, the Global Mobility Program Ambassador from Amazon will maintain contact with Manager A and ensure she's doing well. They'll often call or email just to keep the lines of communication open. Another online membership is Focus. It's a community for expats by expats. There is a variety of information that they offer, from activities to helpful hints with children to healthcare in the UK. Amazon will also offer a mentor for Manager A, so she has someone looking out for her at the fulfillment center. This person will help to support her and her career. Next, looking at her spouse and children, they'll need support too. The ambassador from Amazon will also check in with them to ensure that they're acclimating well to the new country. There are support groups in the area for the spouses of expats too, and this is a great opportunity for Manager A's husband to make new friends in the community. For the kids, there's playgroups and activities that they can sign up for. This is also a great opportunity for the parents to make friends with other parents. Finally, many countries offer intercultural training for families to attend to help them navigate the new culture, particularly in their day-to-day activities. In my example, Manager A was not only looking to further her career, she was also looking to permanently relocate with her family. This isn't always the case for most expats. However, all expatriates participate in the adjustment cycle. First is the honeymoon phase, where everything is new and interesting and exciting. Next is the culture shock stage, where the expat and their family start to become frustrated and confused as the novelty of the move has worn off. Third is the adjustment stage, where the cultural differences start to make sense and they start to find a comfortable rhythm in the new world. Finally, the mastery stage, where everyone is functioning well in the new country. Not everyone makes it to this stage, as they might have to return home early, and some expatriates complete their assignment never trying to fully adjust to the new culture. Once their assignment is complete, they begin the repatriation process of returning home. Repatriation is when an expat returns home after a work assignment in another country. It requires another adjustment period similar to that of the initial transfer, though dramatically different because they are returning to everything they know, yet it's all changed. There are several factors that make the transition back home challenging for the employee. First, they'll have career concerns. What will their duties be upon their return? Will they return to the same position? Often expats will take the international position to advance their career. The organization needs to ensure the expat that they aren't forgotten about and that they successfully fit back into the firm. Next, they'll have to adjust into their work role back home. They may have to wait for an appropriate job to be found. There is often a mismatch between what the employer's expectations are and what the organization has lined up for them. Often there is a significant compensation and status change for the employee. They might have acted as the decision maker when working abroad. Now they'll need to turn to their supervisor for decisions. Additionally, they might have had higher compensation overseas as they'll lose their cost of living allowances when they return. Their family will also have to adjust to the return home, and children might have a hard time reintegrating into school and finding friends again. Spouses might have a hard time finding a job, especially if they were unemployed while living overseas. There were some limitations during my research. First, I have no personal experience living or visiting England. I relied on my research to paint the picture for me. I read many articles, blogs, and posts to help me visualize the job and the culture. Additionally, many of the articles I read referenced other countries, as I didn't find many specifically for England. However, I did take that information and use it to the best I could for my project. Also, I have no personal experience working for Amazon, and as many researchers, we all face time restraints and with our work, lives, and family. For the 21st century workforce, my first suggestion is to always consider women, because failing to give them the opportunity to participate in overseas assignments could end up being a huge loss for the organization. And even though there wasn't a language barrier between the US and the UK, cultural barriers still exist, so giving our expatriates the proper tools to succeed is essential. Also, managers need to keep an open mind when filling expatriate roles, and candidates need to be more open and willing to engage in new work experiences. Furthermore, as managers and HR are working with expatriates, they need to give clear, direct communication to ensure they're on the same page with their team. Additionally, employees need to utilize overseas assignments to enhance their career, and HR needs to utilize these experienced managers overseas to help bring their effective corporate culture around the world. The methodology for this assignment was researching scholarly articles where I read about successful expatriate programs, why other programs failed, how expatriates were managed, and what competencies are needed to be successful. Additionally, I reviewed blogs and posts from expats all over the world. I also researched online support groups and read articles written by Amazon employees. In conclusion, I found that working overseas can be challenging yet exciting and rewarding for the right candidate. Women should be considered for these positions, and more women should consider themselves as candidates for expat jobs. The process requires a great effort from the whole family to make the relocation successful for the family and the employee. When they work together and really try to adjust to the new situation, they'll find a great deal more happiness in their situation. Also, I've learned that the expatriate's experience will dramatically differ if they were assigned the overseas jobs or if they applied for it. Additionally, I believe Manager A will find success in England as she has prepared for this assignment and she has the proper support in both professional and personal life. Thank you for taking the time today to view my project. Here are my references. Thanks, and stay safe.